Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Meet the Candidate Public Service Series. My name is Jimmy Tingle. I am your host on this series. We are talking to all the school committee candidates tonight. We will be talking to the Cambridge City Council candidates on Wednesday. And right now it is my pleasure to bring to the stage, to the listening audience, our final candidate for the Cambridge School Committee tonight. Christopher Lim is a first-time candidate for Cambridge School Committee. He's the father of a sixth grader at the Ringe Avenue Upper School, the husband of a public school teacher with 24 years of experience. He is an engineer who has worked with complex systems his entire career, the coach of Cambridge youth soccer and baseball teams, and a consistent volunteer at Cambridge Public Schools. Please welcome to the show, Mr. Christopher Lim.
Thank you, Jimmy.
Nice to see you, sir.
Nice to see you.
Thank you so much for coming in tonight.
Oh, my pleasure.
So, Christopher, tell us, why are you running for school committee? First of all, your wife is a teacher, 24 years. You can't act up.
I can't. She's an eighth grade teacher, which my family says makes her perfect for me. So.
Okay. Great. So what got you into running for office?
It started about 2 years ago when the discussion about extending the school day came up.
Mm-hmm.
I started going to the meetings at the various schools, listening to the superintendent, going to school committee meetings, and asking questions like, how much time are we going to add? What are we going to do with that time? What are we trying to achieve? And along that 2-year process, I never felt like we actually got to an answer for any of those questions. And that was particularly frustrating given that at the same time my son was in elementary school, so as he is aging out of 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade, we're seeing more and more disruptive behavior in the classes. And sometimes that behavior had a racial tinge. It was often violent and getting progressively, more loud and raucous. And it seemed clear that the district didn't have a system in place for dealing with this. And so those two sort of items combined really brought me into this race.
Mm-hmm. So just as a concerned parent?
This is a concerned parent.
Primarily?
Yeah.
And was your wife's perception of, is she teaching Cambridge Public Schools?
She teaches in Belmont.
Okay. So was she supportive of that decision to get involved?
We had a lengthy family discussion.
Around the kitchen table?
She thinks that I will probably be good for school committee. She's not sure school committee will be good for me.
Okay. Well, you're an engineer.
I am.
So you're pretty analytical, right?
And a lot of what we perceive as a family and what I saw from the outside looking in was that it seemed like a lot of the challenges were based around systems. There's sort of a lack of a system focus, a lack of systems to support the teachers and the administrators, so that when things go great and we have wonderful educators, we've been in 3 buildings now, we've had a pretty wonderful experience for the most part in Cambridge Public Schools. Yeah. But when things go wrong, we don't have the systemic support for those teachers, for the administrators. And so, especially looking at it from my wife's perspective, it has this feel, again, from the outside looking in, that maybe people are being asked to hold a line, and then when there's pushback or things go haywire, then they feel unsupported. And if you do that to our teachers long enough, they start feeling especially frustrated, teacher morale goes down, and then maybe there's a couple incidents that they don't hold the line.
Right.
Maybe the administrators don't back them up. Maybe it's the district. And it's a little unclear because we don't have data and collection and tracking information on these behavior incidents. It's a little unclear that the district even knows how widespread a problem this is.
Interesting. So tell me, what do you think, just having been here with the child in school, what do you think we're doing well, and where do you think we need work? I know you mentioned the systems we need work, but what do you think we're doing really well?
Well, I mean, for me, having a 6th grader this year, one of the biggest compliments I can pay the teaching staff is that a couple weeks ago he looked at me and said, Dad, middle school just feels like school now. And he still loves to go to school. And I think the challenge is keep raising generations of kids that love to go to school, that love learning, that are interested in the process of learning, because there will be challenges. And I think that that's one of the things that Cambridge does well. I think that we are tremendously well resourced. We have phenomenal budget. We have phenomenal progressive values. We have a great teaching staff. I think all of those things go hand in hand with building that love of learning. And I'd love to see the support that we have for different options, right? Like, I may not be a fan of extended day for my particular family, but I love the fact that we have two schools that have ELT and 2 hours longer days. So if a family chooses to opt into that, they can go to Fletcher Manor, or they can go to MLK. And if they want Chinese immersion, if they want Spanish immersion, if they want Portuguese immersion, the fact that we offer those options, the fact that we offer Kodai for music, that we offer arts-focused programs is phenomenal.
If you were elected, what would you be most passionate about?
Well, I don't know that it's necessarily passionate. I'm a pragmatist. I look at it as I have 2 years. I have 2 years to do the maximum amount of good that I can, and I can't be thinking about my next election.
Yeah.
Right? Like if I'm lucky enough to be elected, my sole purpose is try and do the maximum good that I can. And I think that the piece that I would bite off, what I would prioritize for myself is working with the CEA to craft a comprehensive, culturally responsible, the teachers union.
Okay.
Working with the superintendent's office and craft a culturally responsive behavior management plan that includes data, tracking, information sharing between the schools, so that when challenges come up, we know where we have an issue, and then we can build resources around those challenges. So if we need support staff, if we need counseling, if we need extra hands in the classroom, we know where to send them.
Right. When you say behavior analyst, is that what the term you use? Behavior
Management.
Are you talking about classroom disruption?
I'm primarily talking about classroom and behavior.
So, in your opinion, that was an issue in your son's school.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and you said your experience was that there wasn't a system there to deal with it in a comprehensive, consistent way.
Exactly.
Okay, so that's a big issue. I mean, across the board. I don't know if it's a problem in all the schools, but there's got to be a system because, look at two kids don't get along, it puts a whole damper on the whole class.
And then the primary teacher has to focus their efforts on managing that, and you lose a lot of the academic time for the rest of the students.
Right.
And I've spent most of the last 3 months talking to all of the schools in Cambridge, and this is a pretty consistent problem. This is a theme that runs throughout our district, and it feeds into this negative cycle where we have families that choose to leave public schools because of these challenges.
Right. So in terms of coming up with the systems to deal with that is a big priority. What else would be a priority?
I think that working to support our teachers in general, adding staffing is a huge issue. We want additional counselors in our schools. We want more paraprofessionals or interns. Right now, our principals are forced to sort of choose how they're going to staff their building with their school improvement funds. And sometimes they're forced to make some difficult decisions. I'd like to remove some of those difficult decisions and make sure that we have a second adult in the classroom. That's certainly a priority.
Right now, is it the principal's discretion where extra funds are used?
For a lot of those discussions, if we're talking about paraprofessionals and interns, yes.
So if a principal says we don't really want it or need it, or doesn't, really assess the situation, calling for that, in their opinion, they won't get it.
That's generally true, yes.
Right, okay. Yeah. So you think that should be a more consistent, not a one-size-fits-all, but just a consistent approach to it?
I'd love to see a more consistent approach. I'd love to make sure that the loss of Title I status doesn't really, really negatively affect the staffing levels in an elementary school, for example.
Now explain what that is, the Title I status.
Title I is based on the percentage of free lunch children using socioeconomic status to determine the school population and ratio.
Yeah.
If they fall below a certain percentage, then they lose some of the additional funding. And that can be really detrimental to the sort of the idea of hearts and hands in the classrooms because they feel like they've lost funds.
So the free lunches aren't consistent across all the schools?
They try, but because of our controlled choice system, that's not necessarily entirely up to the district to balance.
I see. So is that also dependent on the individual school?
That is all.
And the individual principal?
That's interesting. No, I don't believe that choice is dependent on the principal, but that will fluctuate over time as the demographics of the city change.
Right, okay. And what else would you like to tell your audience? Because you're going to have a chance to do a closing statement right into camera number 1. But is there anything I didn't ask you that you just want the folks to know? Because this is your first time running.
It's my first time running.
How long you lived in Cambridge?
I've been here for 16 years now.
Okay, you like it?
I love it.
Where do you live?
We're right in Central Square.
Okay, cool.
Pretty close by.
Anything else you'd like to tell the people?
I'm Chris.
Before the closing statement?
Before the close? I think in general, what we've seen is a lot of successes in Cambridge Public Schools, and I'd like to find a way to amplify those successes. I want to make sure that we have the support systems in place. I want to be sure that we are thoughtful and transparent about what we're doing, how we're going to communicate with our families, because oftentimes, anecdotally, I've run into families that didn't feel well treated by the systems. And I want to make sure that we are more thoughtful and coherent about how we talk to our families and make sure that they understand that they're a welcome part of this community.
Great. So Chris, look into camera number 1, and please give us your closing statement. If you want to give people your website and where they can make a large or small donation, or any donation, find out more about you, camera number 1.
I'm Christopher Lim. I'm running for Cambridge School Committee. I need your number 1 vote because I want to see us connect school committee policy with thoughtful implementation. Too often we write school committee policy, it goes to live in a binder, and then nobody follows up on it. And I want to be a champion for thoughtful and transparent systems. And my website is limforcambridge.com. You can make small or large donations there. You can also look me up on vote.cambridgecivic.com and mail me a check to my house if you need. Thank you very much.
Christopher Lim, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us
Thank you
tonight.
so much for your time.
Thank you, audience members, for joining us. We're going to be back on Wednesday afternoon with another live show with all the Cambridge candidates for City Council. We'll be back next Monday with the rest of the school committee candidates. So thanks so much for joining us. We have a lot of fun doing it. It's great for me to just learn more about the candidates, the people who are running for school committee and city council, and I hope it's been rewarding experience for you watching the show. Join us on Wednesday and join us next Monday. One more time, Mr. Christopher Lim, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much. Thank you, Chris.
Jimmy Tingle for president.